Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Vansha Kalpatarupyasya Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki, Assembled devotees ki Jai. Thank you everyone for joining today's mid-morning Lilamrta class. May I know who all joined this morning?
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada, thank you so much Mataji for your warm welcoming. Thank you Shashidhar Prabhu for the very wonderful chanting. And thanks to all the devotees for the very beautiful chanting. This is Preeti Vilasini Devidasi from Atlanta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasini Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving us with us services. Thank you for encouraging all of us. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai. Preeti Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining. It's very much a lot of pleasure for me to welcome you always Mataji. So enthusiastic. Hari Bol, welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Neetu Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining early morning, mid morning and giving your association. Welcome to the call. Hari Bol.
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama.
Hare Krishna
Krishna, is there anybody who would like?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, or glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharajs, and all the assembled with devotees. This is Kirti Sundari Dasi.
Hare Krishna Geetida Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every day and giving us with association. Welcome to the call. All glories to your wonderful services. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yashumati Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining early morning, mid morning, chatting so beautifully. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karuna, Devi Dasi from Lincoln. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Indulekha Karuna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nice to see you, Mataji. I'm very happy you're giving class. Again, I got opportunity to serve you. I don't know, whenever you're giving class, devotees are gone away from the class.
We'll do service for each other, Mataji.
Yeah. I'm happy that I am getting opportunity to serve you, Mataji. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. She's just joining from Texas. And thanks for this Bhakti Sangha Japa group for giving an opportunity to unite together and chant. I'm so blessed, Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Shashidhar Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very nice to have you on the call, Prabhu. We are also so blessed to have you in the call and chatting so beautifully, very sincere every day. Hare Bol, all glories to your service. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? We are having 1 more minute to go. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Before we start the call, as usual, we read Srila Prabhupada quote. Let's see what Srila Prabhupada has to tell us today for us. He has very, very beautiful quotes for us every day so that we can learn from Srila Prabhupada. 11th October, if a sincere soul goes out and open a center in any part of the world, Krishna will help him in all respects. Without being empowered by Krishna, nobody can preach Krishna consciousness. Letter to Brahmananda, November 11, 1967. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you so much.
Friday, so we have Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta by her grace Indulekha Karuna Mataji. Today, Indulekha Karuna Mataji is going to enlighten us on Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta Chapter 50. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your valuable time. You are a perfect example for devotee Mataji. Whenever you have holiday, you use very 100% effectively by giving the classes, Mataji. Thank you so much. Please take over the call, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. We should all thank you for giving us the opportunity, Mataji. And this would be fortunately the second time. And now we are already in the 50th chapter of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. Only 15 more chapters to go after this. So please, devotees, if all of you can sign up, it would be amazing to hear from each and every one of you. And thank you to Bhakti Sangha for giving all of us the opportunity to read the chapter. So this is, I have tried to put together a summary of the chapter, and I hope I try to finish it in time. So this chapter is on the lame man and the blind man. So we'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Datati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Dharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya. Okay, so this chapter focuses a lot on Srila Prabhupada's commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the main focus for Srila Prabhupada at this point in time. So we saw the press marathon in 1975, and following that, the press was always trying to keep up with Srila Prabhupada. Okay, and after this is a small summary on the chapter. So we will see what Srila Prabhupada has to say about the whole press, book distribution, and Srila Prabhupada's translations and how they all were coping up with each other. And we look at how Srila Prabhupada traveled around the world. He goes to specifically Hawaii, where Srila Prabhupada wanted to spend time and, a peaceful place and a calm atmosphere so that he could actually focus on his Srimad Bhagavatam. Translations, synonyms, and purport. That's what he gave us. He gave us his personal ecstasies through these purports. And then from Hawaii, he travels to Los Angeles. From Los Angeles, he goes around to New York, how he joins the first Rath Yatra held in New York. And ultimately, he goes back to the east, goes back to India. So this is what we will see. So from 1975, there was this competition with the BBT, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, where they were trying to produce, first of all, Srila Prabhupada told them, I want the Chaitanya Charitamrita to be completely printed in just 2 months. And so after that, the press kept trying to cope up with Srila Prabhupada's writing. And a transcendental competition had developed between not just Srila Prabhupada and the press, but also amongst the book distributors as to how quickly the book distributors can also distribute as many books as are being printed. So Srila Prabhupada, he wrote to one of the leading book distributors at that time, and he said that the BBT says that they are publishing at the speed of my translation and that you are distributing at the pace of their publishing. That is nice. but still I am ahead in my translation work. They owe me now the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm already working on the 7th canto. But of late, what happened was Srila Prabhupada was in India, and there his management responsibilities were overburdening him, and to such a point where sometimes he was not able to focus on his purports and his translation work. Srila Prabhupada was directly supervising the construction in Bombay. He had to be in Vrindavan for a month, and there were other problems, that internal issues that he had to try to resolve and heal within ISKCON. And as a part of that, he wanted to travel around the world to unite all of the people in ISKCON, all of the devotees in ISKCON. So, okay. Srila Prabhupada, he was explaining that sometimes he thought for 2 or 3 days about a single purport. It was not like he turns on the dictaphone at 1 a.m. in the morning and he would just be able to, he would have a flood of thoughts and that's what he would speak about. No, it took him time. And sometimes he had to contemplate on a purport for multiple days. And translating the Srimad Bhagavatam or translating any of his works was any of like the works like Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that included only verses and synonyms. But Srila Prabhupada gave us something even more nectarian. He gave us his deepest meditations. And what he called that was his personal ecstasies. And that was in the form of the Bhakti Vedanta purports. So he could compose those purports, he could translate the verses best at night, but he needed some time to think about it throughout the day. And he wanted to make sure that he didn't want to just translate it as it is. He wanted to make sure that he could speak to the world through his Srimad Bhagavatam writing. So for that, Srila Prabhupada, he had to make sure that this complex Vedic knowledge is put into a modern context so that all of the readers can understand it. And this was highly demanding. So he himself formulated an itinerary that, okay, in about a month, he's going to go to Hawaii, and there he would find an atmosphere that's most conducive for him to write. And so his traveling secretary, His Holiness Pushta Krishna Swami, he started scheduling programs, and he wrote to all of the, secretaries around wherever he is traveling to, and informed them about the schedule. And he specifically wrote to Hawaii that, okay, we would like to schedule the program so that it focuses on and it completely accommodates Srila Prabhupada's translations. So they did not want any outside programs, and he only wanted to see guests from 5 to 6:30. Okay, so, and then it also included the US tour, where he would go to New Vrindavan Dham and he would go to the New York Rath Yatra. That would be in July. So over time, we see that Srila Prabhupada, he seemed less concerned to speak and see visitors. He wanted to focus so much on completing the translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. So after this, from India, he stops in multiple cities in India, and then he goes to Melbourne. From Melbourne, he goes to Auckland and Fiji, and from there, finally, he arrives in Hawaii in May of 1976. And as soon as he arrived, immediately he started increasing his literary output, the amount that he was writing. And every night the devotees, they would go and look at the number on the dictating machine. Okay, so it had a count. So, and each night they would go and check on that. So for them, that was a measure of the benediction that Srila Prabhupada is giving to all humanity. So in India, what they had noticed was mostly not more than 100 digits would be completed in a day. And sometimes it would even be zero, because Srila Prabhupada was in a lot of tremendous pressure in India with so much of construction work and a lot of managerial responsibilities there. But in Hawaii, the moment he landed there itself, his rate it shooted up to 200 and sometimes even 300 digits a day. So Hari Sauri started his servant who had traveled with Srila Prabhupada from Vrindavan. He wrote in his diary that now Srila Prabhupada is translating like anything. And he did 290 digits again last night. So the Hawaii temple was located in a very quiet, secluded neighborhood, and they had a lot of garden property around them. And in the backyard, there was nice banyan tree. There was the largest tulsi bush anywhere in ISKCON. So, and the devotees, they grew their own vegetables, flowers, they had mangoes, they had coconuts, and everything was available in plenty in Hawaii. But still, Srila Prabhupada, he fell ill. And one of the major repercussions was that he could not sleep at night. So barely he would sleep for 1.5 hours at night and 1 to 2 hours during the day. So how Srila Prabhupada used it, everything Srila Prabhupada tries to use in the service of Krishna, right? Whether it be a setback or not. So he decided to make sure that he can use this inability to sleep to increase his writing time. And so although he was emphasizing so much on writing during the daytime, however, he would lecture in the temples, he would go on morning walks, he would have discussions on the beach, and he would answer his mail every day. So he was in Honolulu for about a week when one morning, while they were walking during their morning walks in Waikiki Beach, Srila Prabhupada, he expressed that that night he was going to finish the last purport of the 7th canto. So when Hari Sauri, his servant, expressed his happiness, Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh, I can finish it very quickly, but I have to present it for all of our understanding," right? He said, "I have to present it for your understanding. It requires deep thought, very carefully, to present it for the common man." So much Srila Prabhupada had to think about before he could deliver the message of the Vedic texts, the scriptures. And that night at 9 o'clock, Srila Prabhupada said, "Please, I don't need my massage in the evening. I want time to, finish the 7th canto." And so he shut the door and he returned to his desk and he worked from then until 5 o'clock, all through the night. 5 in the morning till 5 in the morning. And at the end of the 7th canto, he dictated a closing remark. Completed on the night of Vaishakha Shukla Ekadashi, the 10th of May, 1976, in the temple of Panchatattva, New Navadvip, Honolulu, by the mercy of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Thus we may happily chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he did not stop then. He immediately turned to the 8th canto and he began with prayers to his spiritual master. So first of all, let me offer my humble, respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So with that prayer, he started the 8th canto. And Srila Prabhupada, he explained that his spiritual master had instructed him at Radhakund in 1935 to stress more on book production than temple construction. So he wanted to follow that instruction and he started the Back to Godhead magazine in 1944. And in 1958, he started writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Translating the Srimad Bhagavatam. So as soon as he was able to publish 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam in India, he had started for the US in August of 1965. And so he continued in the introduction there. He was saying that I'm continuously trying to publish books as suggested by my spiritual master. Now in this year, 1976, I have completed the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and a summary of the 10th canto has already been published as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Krishna book. And then he was saying that still the 8th, 9th canto, 10th canto, 11th canto, and 12th canto are yet to be published. On this occasion, therefore, I am praying to my spiritual master to give me strength to finish this work. I am neither a great scholar nor a great devotee. I am simply a humble servant of my spiritual master. And to the best of my ability, I am trying to please him by publishing these books with the cooperation of my disciples in America. And he says, fortunately, scholars all over the world are appreciating these publications. So let us cooperatively publish more and more volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam just to please His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he is also teaching us what our mood should be, that whatever we are trying to do, we need to make sure that we are trying to do that just to please our spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada all the arrangement was made so that he could make this promise to his spiritual master come true. And so in order to make the Srimad Bhagavatam understandable for the common people, he had to omit, extraneous, all the distracting elements in it. And he had to select commentaries from the previous acharyas that would impel his readers to do just one thing. His focus was always one thing, to enable all of us to follow pure devotional service, to practice pure devotional service. So in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, even the author, Srila Vyasadeva, he's also in the same mood. So when he's writing the Srimad Bhagavatam, he states that the Bhagavatam, it excludes all materially motivated forms of religiosity. It offers only pure devotional service. So if somebody has got some other motivation, Srimad Bhagavatam is not going to talk about any of that. It is giving us the pure substance through and through. And so Srimad Bhagavatam is called the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. And just as the Bhagavatam itself is the most essential spiritual knowledge, so same way Srila Prabhupada, in translating and commenting on the Bhagavatam, he used the same spirit of delivering just the pure message without any speculation, without any deviation. And this is why he was able to deliver that message very, very effectively to all of us. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all incarnations, the cause of all causes. And Srila Prabhupada made sure that he revealed this conclusion to us in each and every page. His Krishnizing of Sanskrit was not whimsical. He was strictly following the parampara. So he is in the line of, as we all know, he is the follower and a very empowered representative of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So as his follower, he was faithful. Srila Prabhupada was faithfully and perfectly carrying on the tradition of rescuing the fallen souls and bringing them back to their original Krishna consciousness. So he was urgently addressing the readers to give up the world of illusion and to take on the eternal liberation of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was even making available to the average reader the spiritual truths that had been hidden and unavailable, even to the most austere practitioners of yoga and the learned Brahmanas who are proficient in Sanskrit. He wanted everyone to hear the message, to understand the message loud and clear. So he used to say, he's just putting old wine in a new bottle. And that's what he called his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So all of the eternal truths had to be presented in every age. And traditionally, how this was done was through in the form of a debate between the Vaishnava scholars and the impersonalists. And it would be based solely on the authority of Vedic scriptures. But today's society is so degraded that nobody is going to accept the authority of the Vedic scriptures. So Srila Prabhupada, in his writings, he had to deal with the theories such as the origin of life by chance. He had to talk about the theory of evolution by Darwin. He had to talk about chemical evolution. And he had to defeat each and every one of these three theories using strong logic that established that life can only come from life. It cannot come from dead matter. And for this, he used both Shastra and logic in order to establish this Vedic conclusion. And these are some of the things that Srila Prabhupada used in his writing. He made sure that, and he wanted to convey certain messages to the people of this current day and age. And for that, what did he do? In his writings, he would combat false teachings of bogus yogis, gurus, and the so-called incarnations. He would criticize what the modern political institution has become. He tried to analyze why the monarchies fell. He would also explain why the democracy is failing. He looked at how dictatorship was increasingly and is increasingly harassing the citizens. And he talked about government policies of abusive taxation and how the government propaganda to bring people to the cities to work in factories, kind of left their normal, simple agrarian way of life. And so we all are living in cities. We are all busy in this material life just because of the entire change in general policies, in government's way of taxing people. And the fact that right now, in many places, just being an agriculturist is very difficult, to sustain sometimes. So because of all those reasons, people started moving to the cities and they started to work in factories. We all work in offices. So, and that has reduced our simplicity. The life has become so complicated and we are so busy with our daily activities that we don't even have time to sit and think about why we are here, the Supreme Lord, and pray to the Lord and try to receive his mercy, try to progress in our devotional service. Srila Prabhupada also talked about the rampant degradation in human society, the various crimes that are committed. He talked about animal slaughter, meat eating. Through his purports, we have all of this. He even talks about the threat of nuclear holocaust. In the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, text 9, he speaks about the nuclear program in the purport. Srila Prabhupada, his criticisms were very strong. They are authoritative and they befitted the true Acharya that he is. So his uncompromising spirit was very appealing. So as a servant of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada humbly requests everyone. In every page we can see that he requests everyone to please take to Krishna consciousness. He wants everyone to be restored to our original constitutional position of Satchidananda. And in Srila Prabhupada's writings, he would say that so many scholars, they have already presented many versions of Bhagavad Gita, but not a single reader had become a devotee of Krishna. But unlike that, Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, as it is, was creating thousands of devotees around the world. So his books reflected these practical realizations. And many times in his purports, he would try to relate to his difficulties, his triumphs in trying to introduce the spiritual principles within this materialistic society. So some examples of that was like in the 6th canto. This is all mentioned in the chapter. I'm just reading the chapter as is. In the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada, he presents the story of Daksha, how Daksha cursed Narada Muni. And because Narada Muni, he instructed Daksha's sons to also pursue pure Krishna consciousness, that there was no use in staying here and trying to, pray so that they can generate more progeny. Instead, he said, try to become fully Krishna conscious. That is our goal in life. And so hearing this, Daksha becomes so mad that he curses Narada Muni, that he is going to constantly be traveling. He can never stay in one place. So in his commentary, Srila Prabhupada, he had also written that he was also cursed in the same way by the parents of his disciples. And therefore, in spite of having so many centers around the world, he had to constantly travel and preach. And in the 7th canto also, Srila Prabhupada, he talks about how Prahlad Maharaj was being disturbed so much by Hiranyakashipu. And in the same way, he talks about how the difficulties that the ISKCON devotees face when they go around for book distribution. Amidst the Hiranyakashipu's counterparts in today's day and age. So Srila Prabhupada would talk about current events and try to relate, make us relate them to what was happening in the past. So we see how Srila Prabhupada, the definition of the person Bhagavat is also mentioned in this chapter. So he says that as a word, Bhagavat refers not only to narrations about the Supreme Lord, but also to the Lord's devotee. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada was himself Bhagavata. And through his books, one could gain the inspiration of service to both the book and the person Bhagavat. So again, it's telling us repeatedly, please, Srila Prabhupada has put in his life and soul into these books. He has taken so much of time and effort to make sure that we can actually grasp the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he wants us to read this, to understand this, to meditate on the purpose, the translations, the texts in Srimad Bhagavatam, and try to realize that in our life. And ultimately, he wants us all to practice Krishna consciousness, be good devotees of the Lord, and go back home, back to Godhead. So after staying in Hawaii for 2 weeks, Srila Prabhupada, he was well into the 8th canto, and he would have an average of almost 300 digits daily. His health improved slightly, but his sleep was still minimal. Srila Prabhupada, he reflected that it's a good thing from the spiritual point if we don't sleep much. So Srila Prabhupada, he was pulled into different GBC issues. So he had to, he sent a message out to all his GBC disciples to relieve him from all the management responsibilities so that he could complete the Srimad Bhagavatam translation. But once again, whenever there was trouble amongst the leaders in the GBC, or somebody has written to Srila Prabhupada, they would all first try to contact Srila Prabhupada. And that, he said, would distract him from translation. Why? Because each and every one of them was a very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So when they were in trouble, when they were in pain, Srila Prabhupada would also feel that pain. And it would distract him. You could see that he was troubled. But even with all these distractions, Srila Prabhupada, he decided to continue, and he was translating the Srimad Bhagavatam. At that point, Hayagriva Prabhu, he had contacted Srila Prabhupada, and they decided to start another series in the form of an interview commentary on the Western philosophies, different Western philosophies and this was called dialectic spiritualism. So this is a work that Srila Prabhupada had started earlier with Shyam Sundar Prabhu, and at some point in time the script got, it got lost, the manuscript got lost. They couldn't find where they had put in all this old, the work. And so Hayagriva, he decided that it's time for him to come, and he wanted to be back with Srila Prabhupada and spend some time with him. And he wanted to discuss this, the various Western philosophies, and how Srila Prabhupada would, he would give his perspective and the Shastric perspective on each and every one of them. So Srila Prabhupada, in the 8th canto, he was translating the text in the chapter on Elephant Gajendra's crisis. Okay, so this is about where the king of elephants, Gajendra, he in the heavenly planets, this is happening in the heavenly planets, and he was bathing in a river there when a crocodile attacks him, and how he has to stand there and fight the crocodile for 100 years. So Srila Prabhupada was thinking, how could he convey the significance of this event that happened millions of years ago? And it happened in another heavenly planet. It happened between two animals. How can he make this and capture what the essence of this and the significance of it in our life, right? So he wanted to also include the commentaries, the parampara commentaries of acharyas like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sanatan Goswami, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he very nicely, he relates this to the material disturbances that we face in our everyday life, and how even in ISKCON this happens. And so he's written a wonderful purport. I thought if we have time, we can go back and look into it. We'll see at the end. So this is the 8th canto, 2nd chapter, 30th verse, and the purport to it has, he has compared that situation that happened millions of years ago to our current society. So what he did was he took one case, he immortalized it into an instruction for all of us. So this was what Prabhupada was trying to do. His job was to strengthen his disciples so that they would not fall. So in addition to writing, Srila Prabhupada realized that, yes, in order to sort some of these problems, he would have to continue to travel and preach so that he can sustain his disciples. He can make them also strong preachers. So from Hawaii, Srila Prabhupada, he decided to travel, and this was already planned. So he traveled to Los Angeles first, where he visited the Rukmini Dwarakadish temple, and he saw that the community was large and there was a new temple room and it had nice marble arches, and there were lots of transcendental paintings that were there in a beautiful gallery. And he also observed the opulent worship of Rukmini Dwarakadish. So there's a picture of Rukmini Dwarakadish temple, and below it is a picture of New Vrindavan Dham. So from Los Angeles, then he traveled to Detroit, where a mansion was purchased for the ISKCON temple. Then he went to Toronto, where there was a new temple, and he had started that project the previous year itself. And in New Vrindavan Dham, there was a new Vyasasana for Srila Prabhupada, and he drank the milk of the New Vrindavan cows, and he enjoyed the simple life over there. From New Vrindavan Dham, then he went on to Washington, D.C., where on the 4th of July, there was a kirtan at the monument. On July 6th, Srila Prabhupada celebrated the 10th anniversary of ISKCON's formation in Washington, D.C. itself. From there, he went on to New York, where the first full-scale Rath Yatra was to be held. So, the New York congregation had moved to a new ISKCON skyscraper. It was a 12-story building in Midtown Manhattan. Srila Prabhupada, he was trying to declare humanity. So on Independence Day, this was what he was trying to do. He was declaring humanity's dependence on God, right? We always want to be free. We want to be independent. But Srila Prabhupada, he wanted us to make sure that we are dependent on just one person. And that person is the Supreme Lord, Krishna. And he was trying to make a forceful revolution against the states for abandoning their God consciousness. So the United States at that time was, declaring their independence from everything, including God consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada wanted it to be the exact opposite. He wanted us to get back. Do not abandon this, godless. Do not abandon the Lord, and do not abandon God consciousness. And so in the Back to Godhead magazine at that time, they had created, they had an article on declaring our dependence on God, because that was the idea that Srila Prabhupada wanted to convey to the whole world. So at this point in time, Srila Prabhupada was around 80 years old, and he was the leader. He was the strongest devotee in ISKCON. And of course, all over. I mean, he was the strongest devotee at that time. So wherever he traveled, he brought life and strength. And so he continued. So in New York, 1976, Srila Prabhupada from Washington, D.C., he traveled back to New York. So on July 9th, His Grace Jayananda Prabhu, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and Rameshwar Swami, all of them picked up Srila Prabhupada and Hari Sauri at the temple. At that time, the skyscraper buildings work was in progress. And as Srila Prabhupada was traveling in the vehicle, he started recalling old memories. He started discussing about some of his old memories there. So he talks about how he used to come to Brooklyn Bridge, and he used to sit over there by the bridge when he was living in the, Bowery. And he would constantly, wonder when he would return back to India, because Srila Prabhupada, he is from Vrindavan Dham, and from there he had come all the way till the United States. He was in New York with absolutely no help at all at that time. So he said that New York is the closest I feel to home, because he had stayed here for 2 years nearly, from 1965 September until July of 1967. So he called that Krishna's dictation, that Krishna decided that Srila Prabhupada should go to New York. Although there were, all of his previous god brothers and previous acharyas, many of them had traveled towards London, and that's where many of them tried to establish a base. But Srila Prabhupada wanted to always come to New York, to such an extent that he also mentions that he was even dreaming of coming to New York. And then he discussed how he was in Dr. Mishra's yoga studio and his room at 172nd Street, where his tape recorder and typewriter were stolen. And then he talked about, this is the West End Superette, where he would buy fruits. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada was saying that, see, Jayananda, he was driving a taxi and he used to chant Hare Krishna even while driving the taxi. And one day he brought $5,000 to Srila Prabhupada. And that was what they wanted to use for the publishing of Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Prabhupada, he continued that this body is very important. Why? Because the soul is in there. So as long as we have life in this body, it is okay to decorate the body, then everybody would appreciate. But what happens once the soul leaves the body? Then if somebody goes and decorates the dead body, then people would say, oh, he's such a fool. So similarly, without spiritual knowledge, this is a dead civilization. And we are only depending on the bodily concept of life. And so that is condemnable. So Krishna, he said, you have to take to Krishna consciousness. It's only then that we can add value in our life. Everything becomes valuable once we have Krishna in our lives, in the center of our lives. So he said, just like one, if there is a zero, if you have a one in front of it, there is some value to it. Otherwise, it's just zero. Even if you have 1,000 zeros, there is no value. But you add that one, Krishna is that one. You add that one, then it can become 10, it can become 100, it can become 1,000. So that way. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj immediately said, that one is Krishna and Krishna's representative. That was what Rameshwar Prabhu added. So the ISKCON's building, so as they were this is all happening while they were in the car. And so as they reached the ISKCON building, Srila Prabhupada saw the Hare Krishna written in gold letters down the side. There was a large yellow banner. It showed a devotee of Lord Chaitanya performing Sankirtan. So at the site of Srila Prabhupada's car, hundreds of devotees. And even here you can see, like in this building, there are devotees from every single window, every, in the balconies, on the roof, everywhere there are devotees just chanting. So everybody, when they saw Srila Prabhupada's car, hundreds of devotees came to the entrance. Everybody started to chant his name. They started to cheer for Srila Prabhupada. And this New York Rath Yatra was going to be one of the largest gatherings of ISKCON devotees since the Mayapur festival. So this is already July. And so Srila Prabhupada, he went and stood before the deities of Radha Govind, and he was so pleased. And he was looking at the altar of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, where they kept a picture of the Lord. And he was anxiously waiting to see them on Rath Yatra day. So once he entered the temple, he was so full of emotions that it was hard for him to speak. And immediately once he started, he had to thank the devotees. And he said that I had no place. What to speak of a temple? I had no residential place even. So in this condition, I was thinking of returning to India. Practically every week I was going to the shipping company. So it's a long history that I came here with a determination to start a temple in New York first. But at that time, 10 years before, in 1965, it was not possible. But by the grace of Krishna and by the grace of my Guru Maharaj, you have got this place. So I must thank you very much for organizing this temple. Srila Prabhupada was always being so grateful even to his disciples. And he stressed on how Guru and Krishna were saving the conditioned souls from eternal suffering in this material world. So he said, don't lose this opportunity. You take to Krishna consciousness, and that is possible only by Guru Krishna Kripai, right? By the mercy of Guru and by the mercy of Krishna, we can achieve all success. He said, this is the secret. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tata guru tasye katita hyarta prakashante mahatmana. Unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed. This is from Shvetashvara Upanishad 6:23. Srila Prabhupada was quoting this. And he attributed all the success of the Krishna consciousness movement to his Guru Maharaj. Because whatever his Guru Maharaj spoke, Srila Prabhupada completely, absolutely believed it. And he said that if we continue in this way, every success will come. So he went, he observed how the Rath Yatra cart was going to be, and they were going to have 3 carts. So 3 50-foot tall carts. And Jayananda Prabhu was the one, His Grace Jayananda Prabhu was the one who was overseeing, and he was helping build those carts. So The Rath Yatra procession, it began at Grand Army Plaza on 5th Avenue and it proceeded downtown. And so many people turned up for this. There were young men, there were girls in saris, there were Indians, New Yorkers, there were hundreds who tugged at the ropes and they pulled the gigantic chariot. And at 34th Street, Srila Prabhupada also joined the procession and he got onto Subhadra Maya's cart. So this was a gorgeous climax to Srila Prabhupada's 10 years of preaching in New York City. So when he came for the first time, he had no money. He had no place to live also. He had no place for people to congregate or hear about Krishna. And now he was riding in splendor down 5th Avenue at Rath Yatra festival. And his Radha Govinda deities had a beautiful skyscraper. So in 1965, he was alone on the streets, but now he was accompanied by 600 disciples who were loudly chanting the holy names and benefiting millions of conditioned souls. So after when the Rath Yatra procession stopped at Washington Square Park, Srila Prabhupada spoke and he talked about the significance of the Rath Yatra. He went back to the past and explained about the king of Orissa and how he had decided to worship the unfinished deities of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and how Krishna accepts our offerings if it is offered with love and affection. So Srila Prabhupada, he explained that there is no hindrance, anybody can practice devotional service. And he wanted everybody to take to devotional service. So he explained that there is no hindrance. Devotional service is a hetu ki apratihata. It cannot be checked by any material condition. There is no restriction of caste, creed, country, nation, nothing. Anyone can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to our own means. So the Krishna consciousness movement, he is saying, is a propagation to teach people how to worship the Supreme Lord. Because without relationship with Lord, we cannot revive without reviving our eternal affinity to Lord, to Krishna, we can never be happy, right? Ultimately, we all want to be happy over here. And that is only possible when we have Krishna in the center. And when we build that relationship with Krishna. And this, he said, is the science of God. And what Krishna consciousness movement was trying to teach us that all of the living entities are children of one Supreme Father, Krishna. But only the speciality of us as humans is that only in this form of life, as a human, can we understand that relationship that we have with our spiritual Father, our Supreme Father, Lord Krishna. So that's when, there was the Rath Yatra festival. It concluded very wonderfully. There were over 7,000 plates of prasadam that were distributed. And Srila Prabhupada, he saw the next day's papers were all talking about this. So he saw this one article in New York's Daily News that had several photos. And along with that, it had a beautiful caption. It said, 5th Avenue, where East meets West. So Srila Prabhupada was so excited to see that. And he asked the devotees, please cut this out and you have to send it across. You have to send it to all the other devotees around the world to see, but also send it to Indira Gandhi. And he said the title is very nice, East meets West. And he said that, as I always say, the layman meets the blind man, if I can say it properly, right? So he said, together they do wonderful, but apart, they cannot do anything. So he said, he is lame and he is blind. But if they join together, the Indian culture and American money, they will save the whole world. While he was in New York, Srila Prabhupada's health started getting worse. And that happened very often around that time when he used to travel so extensively. And in his itinerary, he had to continue to London, Paris, Tehran, Bombay, and then back to Hyderabad, where he was going to conduct the opening ceremony of a new ISKCON temple. But all of the devotees and the GBC members, they kind of tried to recommend Srila Prabhupada that he stays in US, that he stays in the ISKCON farm, at least at Pennsylvania, for a few months so that he could recover. But Srila Prabhupada, he could not be bound by the GBC. There was only one being who could bind Srila Prabhupada, and that was the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So he already had plane tickets, and he had set his mind on traveling. And even on the day of departure, the devotees, they kept suggesting that please do not travel, Srila Prabhupada. And finally, Srila Prabhupada never said anything, but almost when it was time for him to leave, he said that. And he turned his eyes, they looked so deep. And more than ever, Srila Prabhupada seemed like he was not from this material world. And he said, I want the benediction to go on fighting for Krishna, just like Arjuna. And hearing this, everyone remained silent. The important instruction was burnt into all of their memories. So the elevator opened, and hundreds of devotees were waiting for Srila Prabhupada, outside, and they all chanted and cheered for Srila Prabhupada as he walked to his car. So as Srila Prabhupada left America, the devotees knew that he would always remain with them as long as we all follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions. And they also felt like, yes, we know that he is leaving, but even though he's leaving, he's going to definitely return. So Srila Prabhupada at this time, he was always traveling between East and West, tugging the two cultures, just like the layman and the blind man, right? He wanted to tie them both together so that they both can benefit each other and all of the people can take to Krishna consciousness. So like Arjuna, Srila Prabhupada wanted to always fight. He was fighting. And like Narada Muni, he was always traveling also. He was constantly glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And he would never stop. And those who sincerely followed would be with him. So this was the whole chapter, chapter 50. I just read the chapter as it is. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Is there anything, Mataji, you're speaking? I disturbed you.
No, Mataji, I'm done. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for such a beautiful summary, and it has a lot of philosophy in between about Srimad Bhagavatam, layman, blind man. You're very nice, Mataji. It's so true that layman cannot alone do anything and blind man can alone do anything. But then when they together join, they could do wonders. And always Srila Prabhupada says that, and that newspaper also covered very beautifully about it. Very, very nice, Mataji, the way you went through. And especially I like the Hawaii pastimes, how Srila Prabhupada has written lot Srimad Bhagavatam. He could write a lot because he was very happy in mood over there. If you see material people, they go to Hawaii and enjoy, but Srila Prabhupada also enjoying, but with Krishna, always in spiritual enjoyment wherever he is. So nice, na Mataji. Lot to learn from Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for such a beautiful summary. I open forum for the question and answers and realizations. I see already Kitida Mataji has told that wonderful summary. Excellent session. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji, Kitida Mataji, and Raj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasni Mataji. Thank you so much, Vinita Mataji, for your attentive listening. It is always beautiful to read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta, but it is so challenging when we are reading it. Scary. Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasni Mataji. So sorry, please go ahead.
No. Thank you so much, Mataji. I was a little worried that I won't be able to attend the entire class. because of meetings, but I'm so happy I could attend the second half of the class. So I joined exactly at 11:30. I came back to the computer. It was so nice. I just wanted to tell you that the way you covered Lilamrta was a very, very good, because you told the entire chapter like a story without losing the link at any point of time. Of course, the first 20 minutes, I didn't hear anything. But as you were going, I was saying that even at one point, you didn't lose the link. You were not doing it in patches. You just told the entire chapter like how a person would tell a story to a child. So I really appreciate that, Mataji. And the best part is that you finished it exactly in 1 hour, because these chapters of Lilamrta are so huge. I personally think it's a big challenge to finish it in 1 hour, but you had amazingly, finished the entire thing, just captured the essence of this chapter and presented it so nicely. It was impossible to take my ears off when I was hearing to you. Thank you so much. I like so many things about this chapter. One thing that I was thinking is when you showed that picture of many devotees coming to welcome Srila Prabhupada in New York, and you showed those different windows and people seeing from the terrace, balcony and all. I was thinking of that chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam, how Hastinapur ladies were all
Krishna.
yeah, so similar, right? Even the picture is also so similar. I was just thinking of the same thing, and even the how Prabhupada felt that, so many years back I'd come here. I wanted to start a temple. I wanted it to be the first temple, but today I'm so happy that the dream is fulfilled. Um, so beautiful. And then he was waiting for the Rath Yatra, the Jagannath deities. I think it was Snan Yatra time or something, so they were not there in the altar. So he was waiting to see them and then see them go on the Rath cart. And he was waiting for this one day, and he was telling that you guys made it a success. My desire, you brought it out. And so nicely you showed all the temples, Mataji. It was nice to see Detroit. It was nice to see LA, New Vrindavan, all these beautiful temples that Srila Prabhupada went, and how Prabhupada felt that I want to come back to New York. That's so sweet, so sweet. And finally, how he gets onto Subhadra's cart and he goes. Janan Prabhu's services, everything was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much. And so many things like are coming to my mind, like how you said, not everyone can control Prabhupada, but there's only one person who could control, and that is the only one who can control Srila Prabhupada. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much. Actually, I'm just getting a flood of thoughts as your class was very beautiful. I love the class, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you for all the commitment that you give every time, for everything. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Preeti Vilasini Mataji. It shows how much attention you pay when you're listening. I really pray that someday I can actually do that when I'm listen attentively. I really have to tell you, I was able to complete the chapter in 1 hour only because of Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. When I first read the chapter, I was like, no way, it's too hard to finish it. And I had to ask Mataji, please share the summary, because she has a really encapsulated version of this. And so she shared that, and that's how.
Mataji, I'm looking forward to it for the next session whenever I have to do it.
Mataji, you're going in 2 weeks. So
yeah, so please send it across.
Okay.
I'm completely dependent on you.
Yes, and this is the chapter.
It is actually made by Medhavini Sakhi Mataji. All glories to her. I keep saving things so that it will be useful for many people like that. I saved it, and it is helping for everybody. Even when I prepared my chapter, I just go through that points so that I'm not missing anything. So that helps me also overall what is there in this chapter. And that gives me encouragement to read whole chapter, because chapter is so huge, Mataji. Each chapter has 40 pages, 30 pages to read. It takes the time, but really helping. All glories to Medhavini Sakhi Mataji.
Yes. So Mataji, please share it with the other devotees as it's. Yeah. Oh, next week is Kirtida Mataji's turn. So please share it with Mataji. After that, Preeti Vilasni Mataji.
Yeah, after that, Preeti Mataji.
Very nice. Okay. But thank you so much, Mataji. This was just the chapter as is. There is no reason for anybody to add any more to it. So Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta is so complete in itself. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
And I really like the part 2, Mataji, because I don't remember from part 1 how many chapters I started hearing, but part 2 completely I read with Bhakti Sangha. So I really love part 2 more because I read it every Friday with the group. So I really love part 2. So even though it is huge, it is very interesting. It is all about proper traveling, writing. Part 1, I'm not sure how it is, but then part 2 is very easy to understand, even though it is huge. Yeah. Is there anybody having any more realizations?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Guru Maharajas. All glories to you, Mataji. Beautiful class.
All glories to you, Mataji. So nice to hear your voice after so long.
I know, I'm so sorry, Mataji. Always
sounds so
busy,
good.
busy serving Maya, no time for Krishna Mataji, but yes.
We know better, we know we know what's happening, but yeah.
But yes, so grateful, Mataji, to you, Vinita Mataji, Preeti Mataji, Kirtida Mataji, and everyone around for, going on and on, how difficult it is to make things pursue. It's very difficult, but still you people are restlessly going, and, whenever something comes up, my learnings, everything is from Bhakti Sangha. So this is like my mother, and all of you are such wonderful servants of Bhakti Sangha. Beautiful class, Mataji. I honestly, like Preeti Vilasni Mataji, she was giving points. I don't remember anything because I was just listening. Oh, that point. Oh, this point. Because most of it is from Srila Prabhupada memories, and then it's matching with the same thing with Lilamrta also. So yes, Mataji, the way you narrate things, it's very sweet, and I'm like flowing along with the class. I'm sure everybody is, and thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much, and please pray for me so that I may get back to my habit of listening to classes of Bhakti Sangha. So please, Mataji, thank you. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, and may you continue your services effortlessly, Mataji. Thank you. May Shri Radha Kalachandji bless you in abundance. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for coming on the call, for being here. I know your schedule is so packed and you're constantly serving Shri Radha Kalachandji. So, but in spite of that, you still came. You came to encourage me. Thank you so much, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And I'm so happy for this family. This just keeps me in Krishna consciousness. Bhakti Sangha always does. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Mataji?
Mataji. Yeah, somebody was saying something.
Hare Krishna, Kirtida.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I'm sorry if there is some background noise. I'm outside, but thank you for such a beautiful session, and especially when you were talking about the New York Rath Yatra. I was thinking that every year we attend this New York Rath Yatra, but after hearing this session, I think it's become more appreciative attending those sessions, and especially Radha Govinda. We used to go to Brooklyn Temple and see Prabhupada struggle so much, and today it's such a easy thing for us, just go and stay with the devotees, attend the session, attend the Rath Yatra, and just come back. Prabhupada struggled so much. So that makes us more appreciative towards Srila Prabhupada. And also, as P.D. Lasni was also mentioning that about how people were watching from the windows and were chanting. So that makes that we really miss those times, We really missed seeing Prabhupada, being with Prabhupada. But thank you, Mataji. Thank you. It was very nice, very nicely. You summarized the entire chapter without any break, as she was also appreciating you. Yes, it was just coming in a form of a story, as if you're relating a beautiful pastime of Prabhupada. So many new things, like East meets West. It was such a meditative session, and even I couldn't take off my ears off while listening to your session. So thank you so much. That so shows your sincerity and your, mood of appreciating and being grateful for Srila Prabhupada. So thank you once again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Actually, then next week you should have taken this chapter, because for me, New York is a foreign place. I've never been there. So there's a lot of mention of the different places where they are, how they travel from one place to another, how the Rath Yatra went, which all streets. I just skipped all of that because I haven't seen New York City or ISKCON of New York. So yeah.
No worries,
So
Mataji.
much for sharing.
Good you took up this chapter. If I would have taken, I would have stuck for 2 hours.
Wow. It would have been beautiful. But thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much for attending. I know how busy you are, and I hope you take care of your health. Same with Anuradha Mataji also. Mataji's voice also didn't sound good. So please take care of all your health. You're all serving the Supreme Lord so nicely. Please bless me also. Please bless all of us. Hare Krishna. Elaine?
I'm waiting for Kirtida Sundari Mataji's Lilamrta class and Preeti Vilasni Mataji's, because they did not yet all present. Their classes would be the first class. I'm really waiting. I've been asking them from long time. Finally, they have signed up. I'm waiting for their classes.
Waiting, Mataji, eagerly waiting.
Yeah. We all get to hear your mid-morning classes, but Lilamrta, we want to hear from you both. Is there any more realization? We have a lot of chat messages. Beautiful class. Everybody is glorifying the class. Mataji, thank you so much. If no more realizations or questions, we can call here. Yeah. I just wanted to show this book. This one also I really liked.
Can't see Mataji.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada Nectar.
Yeah, this is very nice. As like Lilamrta only, Vrunda liked it, and she.
Who's the author, Mataji?
Same, Sattvarupa. Yeah, that is also very good. And the other day I read the quotes, right, for my class. This is
my request.
Yeah, this is my request. This has all the quotes of Srila Prabhupada. It's so beautiful. Just wanted to show these 2 books.
Very nice.
Yeah, and this one is very nice, Mataji. Srila Prabhupada pastimes. So beautiful pastimes are there in that.
Is that one book, Mataji, or series?
Yeah, this is on the actually first they initially did it in 3 parts. It seems in the introduction it has told that, but here this is compiled of all 3 parts. I think.
Okay.
This is the whole book. It's very nice. It's like Lilamrta only. That's why I wanted to share.
Very nice, Mataji.
Wants to buy. Yeah, Mataji, we can end the call here. Vancha
kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhye vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. All the assembled
Karuna Mataji ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta
Thank you,
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
In the class.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna.